Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today, thanks for the heads up there, Ryan. All of our guests today, including Craig Button, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Craig worked the game yesterday.
Yeah.
Canucks and Habs.
Nice.
Located Oceanside in beautiful Parksville, the Bayside Resort is one of Vancouver Island's premier getaway spots. Thanks for that, Rick. Looking for a winter getaway? Stay at the Bayside in December or January, and you get not 10% off. You get 25% off your nightly room rate by mentioning Donnie and Dolly. Book your island getaway today at BaysideOceanfrontResort.com or call 250-248-8333 as we bring in TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. How are you, sir?
I am well. How are you gentlemen today?
Oh, very well, very well. Thanks, Craig. We've had a heated discussion about Luke Schenn, and I know there was the Canucks and Habs game last night, big comeback, and we'll get to that in a second. But if the Canucks get, and he's going to be a UFA, slated to be a UFA, if they get a decent offer for Luke Schenn, no matter what he brings on the ice or into the dressing room, do you not go for it, Craig?
I would say absolutely, Donnie, and I think also when you and Luke Schenn has been a rock for the Vancouver Canucks this year, and Luke has that competitive fire in him, and he's going to bring it every single game, every single shift. I mean, I don't know how they called the penalty on that play last night on Slavkovsky. That was textbook body check. Slavkovsky's coming around with the puck, comes right through the chest, and then they called it interference. Anyway, it just happened. But I think Luke has been tremendous, and if you're a team that's looking to add a defenseman at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline, and you know what Luke brings, and you know the success he's had in helping teams, compete for a Stanley Cup and win Stanley Cup, absolutely you're interested in him. And if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, I get a decent offer, I'm trading him.
I tell you what, if his name was Rock Schenn, I'd sign him to a 10-year deal. If you could do that. That's just awesome. We never make mistakes around here, Craig, just so you know. Should the Canucks, you worked the game last night, should they be encouraged by the comeback or discouraged because they gave up 6 goals?
Many years ago, I had a coach, he said, I don't care how bad we play when we win. He goes, I'm not going to demean a win. I'm not going to diminish a win. We found a way to win a game. And I think for the Vancouver Canucks being behind 4-0 and, finding a way, first of all, to get back into the game in the second period and then really coming out in the third period and taking it, then falling behind 6-5. I mean, I thought Bruce Boudreau was going to keep his hands over his eyes for the rest of the game, but he got himself settled in. They score late in the game and then obviously 13 seconds into overtime. So I think when your team shows that kind of fight and that type of resolve, where they didn't look like they had any footing in the game, I think that's a positive from that game. Mm-hmm. But what's not going to change is that the flaws that get exposed. And, Spencer Martin has played very well. He wasn't very sharp last night. Colin Delia came into the net, and I'm going to use a Ray Ferraro line. He looked like an unmade bed, but he found a way to make some saves when he when he was necessary. But their problems are going to exist. And, and you guys have this conversation all the time and everything. What is the path forward for the Vancouver Canucks? Mm-hmm. I really think that is the question that they have to ask themselves. What is the path forward? Because if this is where you're going to be, there's no path forward where you're going to have success. So they have to make a decision about, and real hard decisions about, this is how we are going to move forward. And we're going to have to consider making some significant moves, significant moves to bolster the team so that when they look to the future, that they can have some confidence that they're going to be able to put themselves in a position where they can achieve some success. success isn't coming back from a 4-0 lead against the bottom team in the league with 4 rookie defensemen in your lineup. If that's your definition of success, well, then they're successful. But that's not, I don't think that's their definition of success.
Craig, Brock Boeser's name has popped up in trade talks as agents been given permission to talk to teams. If you're the GM, what do you want in return for Boeser?
Well, I think there's 2 factors here, Rick. Number one, you're looking at a player with a contract just under $7 million for the 2 years beyond this. What you're hoping to have is see Brock Boeser get some traction in the goal scoring department and saying, a great save last night by Montembeault on that breakaway. But what you want to do so that you can affect a positive return or a better return, you're not going to get a top pair defenseman, but can you get a solid second pair defenseman to come in and be a player for you that falls into the same age category as Brock Boeser? How many of those guys are there out there? It seems to me there's got to be a real dollar in, dollar out need. But you start to look at teams that are having some injuries. And with those injuries and to some significant players, you also have an opportunity to flex your salary cap a little bit wider with the long-term injury reserve. So I think that, and there's a lot of forwards that are out right now. So, you might have to, you'd have to take a contract back that I think might not be, much better than the dollars and terms that Brock has. And it might not even be the player you want. You might just have to take a contract just to get the defenseman you want if you're going to trade Brock. But I think that's the return you're looking for if you're the Vancouver Canucks, a real solid second pair defenseman.
Craig, I don't think anybody would have predicted Bo Horvat 20 goals in 26 games. He's having a career year. I think it's going to be awfully tough, Craig, to sign this guy. We had heard the number was in the high 7s in the summer. I'm going to guess that the number's got to be in the 8s now. And also Rupe Hintz signing at 8-4. There was 2 Blues centers that signed at 8. Craig, it's going to be tough to sign this guy. He could hit the jackpot on July 1st.
I don't think there's any question, and keep in mind, you're looking at a player who next summer will turn 28.
Yeah.
He's a great skater. He's great. So he signs a 6-year deal or a 7-year deal, 8 years. I don't think there's going to be a significant downside to signing him long term. But Rick, I ask you this question: the price of success isn't cheap.
Yep.
It's not cheap. And so you got Bo Horvat who does so much in the game, who does so much for your team as a leader in so many different areas. The goals are wonderful. If anybody is going to sign Bo Horvat and expect him to be a 35 goal scorer, I think you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
He's having a career year at the right time. But what Bo is to me, he's that 25 to 28 goal scorer that's going to get 60 to 65 points. But he's going to drive play in so many significant areas. The cap's going to go up. The cap is going to go up. We already know that the cap's going up. And so that's going to give teams a lot more opportunity to sign a player. So the way I look at it, Rick, is everybody talks about how much it costs. Okay, I'll tell you what the cost really is. What's the cost of not having Bo Horvat, and where do you find a guy to replace him?
Yep.
Hey, Craig, we're running out of time here. I wanted to talk about Mitch Marner, Steven Stamkos, the World Junior Selection Camp, but I want to end this conversation here. Barry Fraser has passed away at the age of 82, Edmonton Oilers super scout. How much did he have to do, in your opinion, with all the Oilers' success in the 80s and 90s?
Well, I'll tell you what, a tremendous amount of it, because, Barry, you used the word super scout. He was excellent. He was a killer. And Glenn Sather was a killer. Glenn was the general manager and coach, and he gave Barry that area, and he said, go run it. And Barry did. Just like, how many times do you hear people talk about John Muckler and Teddy Green, really, implementing a lot of things, coaching the team, because Glenn was doing so many things. Glenn was an awesome GM and a great leader. He let other people do what they did best that Glenn said, I knew I couldn't do. It's really funny to me, Donnie. We talk about the Edmonton Oilers and we talk about Barry Fraser selecting players. Now everybody, oh yeah, this GM selected the player. GMs don't select the players. The scouts are the ones that make the recommendation and get it done. I know Grant Fuhr.
Yeah.
Glenn went to watch a game.
Yes.
And he wanted to see Grant Fuhrer. And you might know the story.
Yes.
And he didn't play very well. And Glenn said, yeah, I'm not so sure we should draft that guy. And Barry said, we're drafting Grant Fuhrer. That was the conviction of Barry. I'll tell you a funny story about Barry. He told me this about Paul Coffey. He said, and, just some of the guidance that he would offer. And I was lucky. I spent some time with Barry and, some insights and some mentorship that was really valuable that I'll never forget. But Barry said to me, he goes, Craig, I went and watched Paul Coffey play. I watched him play. I said, when I watched that guy and I saw how well he could skate, and I said, it screamed NHL. It screamed everything that says elite. He says, that's the type of player I'm going to put a stake in the ground in. The second part he said to me is, he said, and once you believe in a player, don't go back and watch him anymore. He goes, because if the player doesn't play well, you might start to doubt him. And you don't want to do that once you come to the point that you believe in them. Just move on to the other players. Barry was tremendous. And, we can talk about Grant Fuhrer in the first round and Paul Coffey in the first round. Barry also trusted his scouts too. Yeri Curry, Satikinen, that was Matty Väisänen. He listened to his other scouts. Let's draft this guy. Just go look at all the different players they got from different parts of the draft. Barry was a tremendous scout.
Well said, and God rest his soul. Craig,
Yes.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for this. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
About all those things, the World Junior, the camp will be underway.
Stamkos, Marner, all of that.
And about Rock Shen as well. We want an update on Rock Shen next week, Craig.
That's his new name. We're going to call him the Rock Shen.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. Off to Seattle he goes. He's working the Habs and Kraken tonight. We thank Craig for that.